just kind of got to be able to adjust to all of this stuff because your disposition is great. You're like, hey, I'm working. That's a good thing. But you don't appear frustrated. You always look the same. You always look even keeled and everything. Like because Chief Joe was a little pissed. Joe was like, hey, and he had a double whammy because he did some teaching too. So schools weren't he would do that to kind of backfill or what he was doing. I mean, he's obviously passionate about everything that he does, but he was catching it from all ends. So does it, what is it about you that's kind of helped you kind of endure this and kind of push through? I mean, is that just good acting? Are you just a good actor right now? Are you just acting like you're feeling great?
Well, I think acting is like the old duck on like a duck on the water. Mm-hmm. Like above water, that duck looks calm,
right?
But underwater, he's just like pelling, and that's really what it is. And as an actor, you were going from one job to the next job, and when you're at the job, you're trying to get that next job. And there are only a few actors who have the luxury of being on every episode. So we're just basically all freelancers just trying to make a living, eke a living out. And for me, it's been a blessing because I've been typecasted. And some people say, well, no, it's horrible if you're typecasted. But look, I'm typecasted as a cop, and every show needs a cop.
Right.
I'm either shooting somebody or arresting somebody or saying just a fax ma'am or something like that. And those jobs, once you get into that particular mindset, and once you get into that particular realm with the casting directors will say, okay, well, I've seen him in this, he's been in that, let's bring him in. He can do the job, and then just go from there. And I know all the casting directors here in New York, most of them down in New Orleans, a few in Atlanta, and as well as Los Angeles. So once you get into it and once they know your type and who you are, and so long as you can bring it in a realistic way, then at that point, then you'll start getting more and more jobs. And it really is just, and in order to get to where you want to be, it's really a marathon rather than really a sprint. So you really have to stay in it for the long haul because I just don't believe how some people would say, well, I'm just going to be an actor for 2 years, and if I don't become a star, then I'm going to quit. I'm like, no. It just doesn't work like that.
How long have you been acting? I mean, how long have you been?
Let's see. I've been doing film and TV since 2007. Okay. Before that, I did theater. And don't even get me started on theater because theater is just shut down right now.
Right.
And it's not. And unfortunately, theater is not going to come back for at least another year. Up here in the city, Broadway is not going to really come back because they have to work. They got to work around the whole seating aspect of it.
Right.
So that's going to take a little bit longer to come back. Film and TV, they're coming back on a smaller scale in terms of small crowd scenes, maybe 2 or 3 people actually on camera speaking to each other. And it's funny because one of the last program that I was on last week, we all had our masks on once we got to set. But as soon as we were speaking, then we had to take our masks off. And really that felt kind of weird.
Right.
It really felt kind of weird because you were talking to people less than 6 feet apart or 4 feet apart or 5 feet apart. And you're talking to them as if nothing's happening, as if COVID doesn't really exist. And you're like, okay, well, luckily I've had my COVID test and it came back negative. And everyone who's on set as an actor and everyone in the crew and directors, they're all COVID negative also. But you just have in the back of your mind thinking, okay, well, why don't I have a mask?
Right.
So,
yeah. So Well, hopefully, yeah. They said with all the, as you talked about, how rigorously everybody's tested, and all of the check boxes you got to check before you get in there. You're just like, okay, well, just you hope it's like anything else. You like when we used to go to. There were times when you talked about the parties that we went to growing up. There were times where you could just go in. And then after a while, then you had to get patted down. Then the next thing you would know, and there'd be magnetometers, and they were checking guns and stuff. And now you just get in there, like, I hope nobody fires one off. But so the same thing. I hope this sucker ain't been doing nothing wrong here.
Exactly. Because I remember back in the day when we used to go to DC. You go to Tracks, Chapter 3. We had to go to the they would frisk you. They would put you through the whole 9 yards, make sure that you weren't packing anything. And then in Baltimore, at that time, Baltimore wasn't as
live.
Exactly, as live as it is now. So we just walked into Gatsby's. We walked into
oh man, you were going back through all this stuff. Man, they just tore down the club there.
Yep. Odell's, going to Odell's and all that.
They, if you belong. They tore something down. There was something they tore down. What was it? Was it Gatsby's? I don't know. It was something. Signals. Was it Signals?
Wow.
Paradox. One of the clubs they tore down. But we're reminiscing. I'm sorry, Shannon. We're reminiscing.
No, you're okay. I'm still trying to work with our sharing on Facebook.
Oh, did you get it? Did you find?
I got it. I got the link on my page, but I sent it out to a couple of people and they're saying it's not working. So that's all I'm working on. That's why I'm like really quiet over here. But if you're watching, I see it as some people in the watch room. Go ahead and share it for me. And let's get some people in the chat room with us. So
you can have some questions. You see, Shannon keeps all the questions, and when all of your fans who start recognizing, wow. I know who he is, where he is. What's your favorite set to shoot on? Of what you've done so far. You spend a lot of time. Well, you spend a lot of time. You spend a lot of time in New Orleans, and I know that's an interesting city. I had a ball there one year. I first left high school and I went to college there
where'd you go?
I went to Dillard.
Okay, went to Dillard.
Had a ball. That's how I ended up at Morgan.
There you go.
My father said, "That's enough, son. Yank, boom." And so we act like that didn't even happen. But had some of the best friendships that I've got to this day. That 1 year was great.
I had no idea how I got through law school down there.
Yeah.
I was living right outside the French Quarter.
Okay.
And 3 years just passed by.
Right.
And they said that you got to get out of here. You have to graduate. I'm like, I don't know how. Living down there, and I lived down there for about 12 years afterwards.
Okay.
So,
So now when you're back down there filming, it's like second home then. So
it is. Okay. I really have the same friends who are there, and it's good to get back down to the Louisiana cuisine, the New Orleans cuisine, and going down there, just going through the French Quarter, listening to the jazz, and I just love going through the French Quarter around 2:00 in the morning.
Right. Yeah, so. That's right. That's it. That's Chief. You got to do it. You got to go.
Yeah.
I know you've been.
I love New Orleans.
I know, Shannon, you've been everywhere. See, Shannon, Chief, it's time to hit it. We got to hit the song one more time. She probably had a concert down there. Shannon, did you ever play anywhere down the French Quarter? The designer ever played?
But I love the French Quarter.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's a good place to grow. You're talking about. I guess that would be a little scary now. Pulling the mask off after everywhere you go, everyone's telling you got to keep a mask on.
Mm-hmm.
Not only for COVID, and if they don't have COVID, you just gotta hope they have some gum too, because breath smells worse now than it used to. People, regular breath is funky now. Breath that used to be okay is bad now because it's been hidden behind the mask. People have been just walking down the street, passing out, just realizing how bad their own breath was. They didn't even know. Chief, they had a mask on all this time and they just went out.
That's right.
Man, shoot. But that is that keeps you, but it doesn't take you out of character. So that's good. You're able to kind of stay in there and focus. That's got to be hard too.
It is. I mean, you just have to realize that you're there for a particular job, and you just have to zone out everything else. You zone out the cameras, zone out the crew, zone out every other thing that you can, and you have to make it as if you're being overheard and not really heard. So it's just one of those art forms that you really have to digest and really have to learn how to work it. So
right. Well, you are certainly working it, sir. I'm gonna live vicariously through you. I had my brief time, and I didn't even get a word, didn't get a credit.
Man.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was part of it. I mean, we were like, we didn't know. Most of us didn't know what we were doing. You know, we were just glad to be there, and and it was interesting, but it is weird to kind of see yourself on the screen. You know, the first time you're like, you know what's coming, but you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is wild. And then when other people start calling you and saying they saw you, you're like, oh man, this is wild. But you see, you're used to all of that stuff now because you're in the autograph signing stage now. So. Actually,
it really is. It still doesn't freak me out, but I still have to just take a moment and just let it all sink in, especially in just looking at movies and see myself on a big screen movie or whatever.
Right.
Back when people used to go really to theaters.
Right.
But now just seeing myself on TV, I'm like, okay. Then I start critiquing myself. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should have done this. Maybe I should have looked to the left instead of the right.
Just hard on
because that's your best side. You know, you have to figure out and then you just start to figure out, okay, well, look, just as long as you have a credible performance, then that's all that matters.
That's right.
Don't critique it and just move on. Just go on for the next one. So
at least you got a good side. See, Chief would be in trouble. He has no good side. It's, no matter where to go.
Yeah, the back of my head is my good side.
That's it.
So, what advice do you have for someone that's trying to break into the entertainment business?
Easy. Two thoughts. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Don't put a timetable on it, and just go at a good clip. And then also, the main thing that casting directors really want, they want some training. No one is a born actor. You have to get the training in order to be able to say the lines, hit your mark, and you have to make it truthful. And there aren't that many people who can do that naturally. So you really have to get a good foundation in actually studying the art of acting. So those are the two real pieces of information, because there are no overnight Hollywood being discovered. You were in the soda shop, and all of a sudden they're like, oh no, I want to give you this $50 million contract to be a star. Never happens.
So how do you feel about the reality TV?
It's a different genre.
Or the YouTubers, that come to the television now.
It's a different genre, and it's a different medium. I mean, at first I was saying, oh, well, this reality thing is not going to take off, but actually it does. And it is different from acting in a scripted, traditional sense. So that being a reality star takes a whole different skill set, different level of skill set, but it's still entertainment. This is all that we're doing. We're still entertainers also. I don't really, it's just a different type. I don't denigrate it or say that it's lesser than acting, but it's just a different form of entertainment.
Okay.
Yeah, folks are all on.
I know that's way off of COVID, but I was just wondering.
No. But it's funny because that's a really good question, because most people say, well, okay, if I have a Twitter account, if I'm on Instagram, and if I do a 3-minute monologue, is that going to be enough? Or is that going to be enough if I go on Instagram and say, okay, well, I'm going to do a scene there? They're like, well, yeah, it's good to have your chops, but you have to just really grow from that point on and just